Whenever I listen back to something that I do, it just makes me feel weird.
She was the 13-year-old girl who became an overnight sensation. A quiet schoolgirl from a small English village who walked onto the world's biggest stage and unleashed a hurricane of a voice that left millions speechless. This was the Courtney Hadwin the world met on America's Got Talent. Her raw, untamed energy felt like a throwback to a golden age of rock and roll, a force of nature you just couldn't ignore. She earned the golden buzzer, the love of millions, and a record deal with one of the most powerful men in music, Simon Cowell. It looked like she had it all: the roaring applause, the viral videos, the promise of a legendary career. But just as quickly as she appeared, it felt like she vanished. The roar of the crowd was replaced by a deafening silence. Her social media went dark. The promised album never seemed to materialize, and the girl with the universe at her feet seemed to disappear from the spotlight entirely. For years, fans were left asking one question: what really happened to Courtney Hadwin? The answer is a story that's more complex, more heartbreaking, and ultimately, more inspiring than you might think. It's a story about the brutal machinery of the music industry, the crushing weight of sudden fame, and the silent battle a young girl had to fight to get her own voice back. This isn't just the story of a talent show contestant. This is the story of what happens after the cameras stop rolling. Remember this: a shy teenager, fidgeting on stage, looking like she might run off at any second. And then, the complete explosion of sound and fury. It was the audition that broke the internet. A moment so pure and unexpected it felt like catching lightning in a bottle. This was the Courtney Hadwin who captured the world's imagination. But the artist you see today is different. That wild, chaotic energy has been forged into something sharper, more deliberate. The journey between these two versions of Courtney wasn't a fairy tale. It was a silent struggle against an industry that tried to package her, change her, and almost erased her. So, what really happened? The answer is simple, and it's everything. To understand the struggle, you first have to understand the triumph. Back in 2018, Courtney Hadwin, from the quiet village of Heselden, England, was just 13 when she walked onto the America's Got Talent stage. Everything about her screamed nervous. She was painfully shy. Her answers to the judges' questions were basically whispers, and she was clutching the microphone stand like a life raft. Her dad, watching from the wings, had that look of hope and anxiety every parent understands. The audience, and the judges, seemed to be getting ready for a gentle, maybe shaky, performance. What they got was a full-blown rock and roll exorcism. The opening riff of Otis Redding's Hard to Handle kicked in, and something primal took over. The shy girl was gone, replaced by a screaming, stomping, flailing force of nature. Her body convulsed with the rhythm, her voice a raspy, soulful roar that seemed impossible coming from someone so young. It wasn't a performance, it was a release. The judges were in shock, their jaws on the floor. Mel B was on her feet. Howie Mandel looked like he'd seen a ghost, and Simon Cowell, the man who's seen it all, just looked completely astonished. Howie Mandel didn't even think about it. He stood up and said he couldn't just give her a yes. He compared her to Janis Joplin, a legend who rose to fame after finding a voice she didn't know she had. And then, he slammed his hand on the golden buzzer, showering a stunned Courtney in golden confetti. It was pure TV magic. The audition video became a global phenomenon, racking up hundreds of millions of views. Courtney Hadwin wasn't just a contestant anymore, she was the story. The shy schoolgirl with the soul of a rock legend. It felt like the beginning of an unstoppable rise, the birth of a new kind of star. The world was at her feet, and the music industry was watching, ready to pounce. But in the entertainment world, the story they had in mind for Courtney was very different from the one she wanted for herself. Throughout her time on America's Got Talent, Courtney was a hurricane. She tore through classics like James Brown's Papa's Got a Brand New Bag and Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild. Each performance was a spectacle of raw, untamed energy. The public was captivated. She was the clear frontrunner, the one who seemed destined to win it all. So when the finale came and the results were read, a wave of shock rippled through the audience. Courtney Hadwin finished outside of the top 5. For the millions who had followed her journey, it was a confusing end. How could the most talked about contestant of the season not even make the top 5? It was her first bitter taste of a tough reality. Sometimes, being the most unique talent in the room doesn't guarantee the win. The industry, and even mainstream audiences, can be confused by something they can't easily categorize. But even before this, the whispers had started. As her fame exploded, so did the scrutiny. A narrative began to bubble up online, questioning if her shy persona was real. Detractors pointed to her previous appearance on The Voice Kids UK in 2017 as proof that her nerves were a calculated act. Was this quiet girl just a character she put on before the music started? The backlash was swift and, for a teenager, had to be confusing. The very thing that made her story so amazing, the transformation from shy girl to rock goddess, was now being used against her. her family and teachers rushed to her defense, insisting that the girl the world saw off stage was the real Courtney, a genuinely quiet soul who found her only true expression in music. They explained that her onstage persona wasn't an act, but an escape, a place where her social anxiety could be burned away by performance. But the seed of doubt had been planted. This was a harsh introduction to the dark side of fame, where every part of you is up for public debate. The pressure was immense, and this was only the beginning. The biggest challenge was yet to come, and it would arrive with a record deal that promised to make her dreams come true, but threatened to cost her something far more valuable: her artistic soul. Despite the surprising finish on AGT, the buzz around Courtney Hadwin was undeniable. A talent show loss doesn't mean much when you have that kind of viral appeal. And so, in December 2018, the news everyone expected finally broke. Courtney had signed a major record deal with Psycho Music, Simon Cowell's own label, in partnership with Arista Records. This was the golden ticket. For a young artist from a talent show, signing with Simon Cowell was seen as the ultimate prize. Psycho was the factory behind global phenomenons like One Direction and Little Mix. Cowell's endorsement was a coronation. He publicly said, "I will never forget her first audition on the show this year. And now we have the opportunity to work with her alongside Arista. It's fantastic." The message was clear. Courtney Hadwin was here to stay. Her massive fan base was thrilled. This felt like the validation she deserved after the finale. The plan seemed simple. Take the raw energy that captivated millions, channel it into a debut album, and unleash it. She even returned to the AGT stage for the Champions spin-off in 2019, performing her first original song, Pretty Little Thing, showing she was moving from cover artist to a true original. Behind the scenes, however, the industry machine started turning. She was no longer just a girl who loved singing in her bedroom. She was an asset, an investment. She was a product to be developed and marketed. And the switch from the freedom of a talent show stage to the rigid world of a major record label is a tough one. On a GT, her wild, unpredictable style was her greatest strength. But in a record label boardroom, that same unpredictability could be seen as a problem. The music industry loves a formula, and Courtney, with her love for gritty, old-school rock, didn't fit. Could the Psycho Machine, a system built for pop superstars, launch an artist who was the exact opposite of modern pop? Or would the machine try to change the artist to fit its mold? A major record deal is supposed to be a launchpad. But as turned into a year, the silence from Courtney's camp became noticeable. Fans waiting for new music got a trickle, and then, nothing. The momentum from AGT started to fizzle, and everyone was wondering, where is the album? The answer is tangled up in the brutal mechanics of the music industry. In October 2019, Courtney released an EP, The Cover Sessions. While her vocals were great, many fans were confused. Why more covers? Where was the original music? The EP felt like a safe move that didn't capture the dangerous energy of her live shows. And it didn't make a big commercial splash. This was the first public sign of a deeper problem. Behind the scenes, the label was reportedly struggling to market. Heard they had a tiger by the tail and didn't know what to do with it. Her classic rock style didn't fit into the neat boxes of mainstream pop radio. Reports suggest she was being pressured to change her sound, to soften her edges for something more commercial. This was a direct conflict with who she was as an artist. Then, the floor fell out from under her. In early 2020, Psycho Music, Simon Cowell's empire, shut down. The label was gone. And just like that, so was her record deal. There was no big announcement, just silence. Many Psycho artists were moved to other labels, but Courtney wasn't one of them. She was left in limbo. The timing couldn't have been worse. As she was dealing with creative differences, the ship she was on sank. That, combined with the global shutdown of 2020, brought her career to a dead stop. Tours were canceled. A planned performance at the Woodstock 50 Festival. To stay afloat and stay true to herself in an industry that had seemingly cast her aside. During this time, she turned inward. Songwriting became her therapy. In a later interview, she said her songs were like a big collection of diary entries. From the last few years, she was pouring her heartbreak and her resilience into her music. One song was about someone close to her choosing substances over their relationship, a deeply personal story. Another, That Girl Don't Live Here, became an anthem for her own transformation. She was no longer just singing other people's words. She was finding her own. This period of silence wasn't a retreat, it was a reinvention. She had to get lost to find herself. And when she was ready to come back, she'd be coming back on her own terms. Out of the ashes of her major label experience, a new Courtney Hadwin started to emerge. In 2023, she began independently releasing original singles like Breakable and That Girl Don't Live Here. The releases were modest, posted on her personal YouTube channel, but they were a powerful statement. This was her music, her way. When a fan on YouTube mentioned Simon Cowell, Courtney quietly but firmly confirmed what many suspected, saying she was completely independent, finally doing it my way. That emphasis on my way said it all. She was free. and she was going to use that freedom. This new path was about building a direct connection with her audience. She used platforms like TikTok and YouTube to share her life and her new music. And during a time of global isolation, she only got louder and more determined. The music itself was evolving. It was still rooted in rock and soul, but now it was filled with her own life experiences. Her single Monsters was a big breakthrough, tackling themes of mental health. In a huge win for an independent artist, the song climbed to number 19 on Billboard's Hard Rock Digital Song Sales chart. It was proof that her voice and her truth could find an audience without a major label machine. She started collaborating with artists who got her vision, like E Street Band's Steven Van Zandt and Grammy-winning producer Kevin Bowe. She recorded live sessions at the legendary Metropolis Studios in London, a space used by her heroes like Amy Winehouse. These videos showed a more mature, confident, and fiercely in control artist. She wasn't just singing the songs. She was leading the band, delivering brilliant and raw performances. Courtney Hadwin was no longer the shy girl from AGT. She was a young woman rewriting the rules. She'd faced the industry machine and come out stronger. She once embraced a quote that perfectly summed up her new philosophy. If a label thought I was an out-of-control project, they were right. I'm out of control, and I want it that way. The years of rebuilding all led to 2025. This was the year Courtney Hadwin truly returned, not as a comeback story, but as a fully formed artist. She announced her debut full-length album, Little Miss Jagged, with a release planned for September 12, 2025. The title itself is a nod to her journey and embrace of the imperfect, the raw, and the real. This was not the album Psycho would have made. Working with producer Kevin Bowe, Courtney crafted a sound that's a riot of hard rock, Motown, funk, and punk. Her powerhouse vocals have only gotten more arresting. The influences of Janis Joplin and Tina Turner are still there, but they're filtered through a contemporary, edgy, and personal lens that is all her own. The singles released ahead of the album showcased this new direction, with tracks like You Only Love Me When I Lie and The Funky DNA. Each song is like a chapter. From her diary, a piece of her journey transformed into art. This was Courtney, unfiltered and in full control. She co-wrote the songs, shaped the sound, and told her own stories. A caption on one of her Instagram posts read simply, "Not a little girl anymore." She was now a 21-year-old independent artist who had fought for her career and won. The return. It wasn't just on record. She embarked on tours of the UK and Portugal, playing sold-out shows to fans who had waited years for this moment. She was rebuilding her career from the ground up. On her own terms, her journey has come full circle. But she's arrived at a totally different destination than the one planned for her. She didn't become the mainstream star the industry envisioned. Instead, she became something more authentic, an independent artist with a singular voice and a story of resilience now embedded in her music. The shy girl who vanished didn't get defeated. She was rebuilding. Courtney Hadwin's story is a powerful reminder that the path to success is rarely a straight line. It's about staying true to your own voice, even when the world tries to silence it. Her journey from viral sensation to a fiercely independent artist is one of the most compelling in modern music. So, I want to hear from you. Were you a fan of Courtney back in her AGT days? What do you think of her new music and her journey? Are you ready for Courtney 2.0? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this story inspiring, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories behind the music. And of course, go check out Courtney's upcoming album, Little Miss Jagged. You won't be disappointed. Courtney Hadwin's story is often framed as a tragedy, and in some ways, it is. It's the story of a phenomenal young talent thrust into the unforgiving machinery of the music industry. It's a story of broken promises, industry pressure, and a crushing silence that could have ended her career. The heartbreaking tragedy isn't one single moment, but the reality of what happens when a unique spirit collides with a system built on conformity. But to end the story there misses the entire point. Courtney Hadwin's journey is not a tragedy. It's a story of profound resilience. It's about a young woman who faced down the pressure of early fame, the collapse of her record label, and the threat of being forgotten, and chose not to give up. She chose the harder, independent path to protect her artistic integrity. She didn't vanish. She went underground to rebuild. She didn't lose her voice. She fought to find her own. The shy girl from America's Got Talent has transformed into a confident artist who writes her own rules. Her journey shows that success isn't just about topping charts. It's about perseverance, evolution, and the courage to build a career that is truly authentic. Courtney Hadwin didn't get the fairy tale ending the world expected for her. She got something far better. She got to write her own, and that is the greatest victory of all.